and strength, but Simon Brooke, who used to run Conservative by-election campaigns more than you've ever had hot beef dinners, questions whether canvassers, posters or ground visitations actually make any difference at all.
How many can swim already? How many can do a length? Where do we get that way?
That's it, I thought it was son of John Major for a minute.
This is the Conservative by-election campaign headquarters. Up till recently, I'd have been working in this building as the press officer. I lost every campaign I worked on. So how do you win a by-election?
We're going to do Doris Smith.
Doris Smith, okay. Have you guys can do...
Traditionally, the parties fought by-elections by knocking on doors, like Liberal Democrat candidate Jeanette Davey is doing here.
I was thinking of going to your house.
See, that's the problem with canvassing in the afternoon. People are always out.
Have you done so?
Yeah, I have. It's also time-consuming and not very productive.
I'm Jeanette Davey. I'm the Liberal Democrat candidate for the by-election on the 11th of April. Can I count on your support, do you think?
I don't like to be rude, but I'm afraid not.
That's fine.
Oh dear, that is very rude. Bad luck, Jeanette. And it gets worse.
I'll make my own mind about it, let no bugger tell me what to do or how to vote, like, you know. I'll just time to get
You can meet more punters more quickly in the marketplace, although you may be interrupted by some of the minority candidates in the election.
Party, which is called Daily Loony Lags.
Hello, madam. Can I give you one of those? Do you believe that life should mean life?
In fact, the sight of a genuine voter amongst the candidates can provoke a feeding frenzy, in which your message could well be lost.
No, I would like to bring back the cane.
Exactly.
I think the
But
cane
don't
should be
appro-
brought and
Of course it
bought
should be.
for.
Local credentials are particularly useful, and they'll need to be better than simply having driven through the constituency once or twice, as one previous by-election candidate admitted. But however much direct voter contact you achieve, you still won't convince much of the electorate.
You mean the Tories
Yes, what do you think?
and the Liberals and the
That's
Labour?
right, yeah.
Well, to be quite honest, I just don't know.
No, dear, and you're not alone. What about leaflets? The parties produce a huge amount of literature.
We're going to win this by-election so surely. We really have got the Labour Party on the run now, haven't we?
That's the spirit, even if the polls don't agree. Round the corner, Labour stuffers are preparing a direct mail shot. I know all about Tory publicity, and I discovered that Labour envelope stuffing is pretty similar.
One envelope. You put that in there.
Actually,
You have a look, see,
Brilliant that it's in the window.
in the window, and then you just seal it.
Great.
Not you, my love.
Oh, right, thank you.
Oh, Belto.
Harmonious campaign. Each candidate is entitled to a free mail shot to every elector. There are 73,000 of them in this constituency, and that requires an army of volunteers. Rather than trying to reach the voters directly, the parties have turned increasingly to the media. From the early 80s, press conferences became an important part of by-election campaigning. But as I found, the only news you get out of them is bad news, and recently the parties have been less keen on them. Journalists don't exactly flock to them either these days, even with the prospect of meeting Labour candidate Brian Jenkins. They'd rather get their stories from direct briefings with politicians.
You're always trying to look for a different way of why the Tories are going to lose, but you tend to try and pick one angle, and this one's beef, basically.
Beef is certainly flavour of the month with the national press, but when I was a press officer we discovered the local media, and the parties now target them, not just with press releases, but with carefully drafted letters, apparently from members of the public.
I think we pride ourselves on being able to spot the one that's been panned by the party machine and arrives in the name of a party supporter. And there have been several of those this week.
In fact, the pretence that there is any hard news value in a by-election has all but disappeared.
We tend to do more and more colour pieces now rather than news pieces. People tend to prefer to do it for cameras now and have pictures of politicians going around farms and going around schools, and that tends to sell much better on the news. So the print journalists have to follow.
What should you say there?
10.5. Very plasticky things, aren't they?
Well, it's all a bit plasticky, isn't it, Mr. Dewar? After all, what are you doing in a mock ski slope in Staffordshire?
I'm rather worried about being bullied by the press into having a go, but I'm determined and resolute on that matter. No, it's a great feeling in the campaign. It's a very happy campaign.
What the big guns do when they come up from Westminster these days is to create photo opportunities like these. Across town, Paddy Ashdown thought he had found a voter handshaking machine.
It's all air controlled. Air controlled? Yes, it's air, yeah.
Hot air controlled, maybe. But where are the voters? Paddy Ashdown, why have you visited this factory this morning?
Because I wanted to show that the thing that matters to us is investing in people's skills. Now, this is a little firm. It's done phenomenally well, been going 6 years in very tough conditions.
And the voters weren't down the road either, where the Defence Secretary was also getting a healthy dose of technology, along with Conservative candidate Jimmy James and his minder from Central Office, Alan Duncan. Another factory, another photo opportunity. In there somewhere is Michael Portillo. But what's the point of it all?
This is really good scripting, so I think better than that.
Well, any ideas, you know? Thank you, Alan Duncan. He's here to make sure the press behave themselves and get the right message. So what message does this visit convey?
This is the Conservative Party campaigning together for Conservative policies which are distinctive and clear. Entirely positive front foot politics. And that is a sort of model for the way that we will conduct ourselves right up to the general election.
And can I just make a point here? We're getting
No,
a very
Mr. James, I'm afraid you can't. There are legal restrictions on interviewing the candidates themselves, at least until one of them is elected. And as Michael Portillo leaves, Jimmy James knows that all the Tories' campaigning skills will be needed if he's going to be that one. There are 13 candidates standing in the South East Staffordshire by-election.
And Tony Blair went campaigning in Tamworth this week, but thanks to modern technology, he was beamed back to London by video link to launch his party's new policy on training. Labour has ditched plans to impose a levy on employers who fail to train their workers. In place of the stick, it will now offer